Hello, I can see that a few people are in and are joining. So, good evening. This is our fourth day into our Mental Illness Awareness Week. If you all are ready and would love to interact, please join in using the live chat and let me know in text a little bit intro about yourself and how are you all doing? Let me know on the live chat so that uh, we can connect better. I will start today's session in a few minutes. But by then, I hope you all can type in a little something about yourself, and so that I know who's watching out there, and we can carry on with the objectives and things set up today. As in, when you join, please use the live chat to let me know you're in and a little bit introduction or something like how you're doing today. I'll start in a minute or so. So feel comfortable, have a cup of tea, and join in. Please use the live chat and let me know how you're doing today. How's things going around with you? And how's life generally treating? How's the pandemic treating you all? Has there been any changes in lifestyle, or how have you been able to cope up? How are you finding things with how the pandemic is going? And since the news is getting a little bit too much for all of us to take and things like that, let me know how y'all are feeling and how y'all are connecting to the new normals of living. um, Please use the live chat to let me know. Okay, so I'm not seeing any messages, but I can see joinees in there. Anyways, so it's nice to see you all back today, and I hope you're having a good evening and a good day. So myself, if you're new here and you don't know me, my name is Dasha, Dasha Madhu, and I'm a graduate in psychology. I'm also a member of the British Psychological Society. So I've been into the field of psychology for about 6 years now. And yeah, this is my sixth year um, here. Mostly I've done my education in Dubai, the United States of Arab, the United Arab Emirates. Yeah, so that and yeah, so I'm carrying forward with my education in psychology. um, okay, so this video and the live session has the objective of connecting with you all on the awareness of spreading mental illness. So from October 4th to October 10th, it's celebrated as the Mental Awareness Week, and it is celebrated in the United States, and the aim is to provide maximum awareness on mental illnesses. Right. So there's a separate awareness week for mental health, and this specific week focuses on spreading awareness of mental illnesses. So I've covered about three lives till yesterday. The first one was on stigma and stereotypes in towards mental illnesses and mental health in children. Yesterday's was about okay, and the second live was about how we Google symptoms to find our type of disorder, or how we use the internet to self-diagnose. So the practices of self-diagnosis was our topic for the second day, and the third one was about how and what we can do to help someone who is going through something, or if we are ourselves going through something, what can we do. So step by step I've tried to explain as much as possible from my end. So these were the three topics we have covered till now. Today, the objective for today is I hope to cover on the topic in first half on the sources of mental illnesses in specific. So, what are the type of sources how a person develops mental illnesses? What factors influence people to go through or be susceptible to mental illnesses? What are the things that contribute to mental illnesses in particular? And the second half, I hope to talk about the topic of self, how self acts as an important factor, how self various aspects of self, that is self-esteem, self-control, self-confidence, self-awareness, self-concept, things like these try to influence our lives, and how positively we can manage to bring a change, and what these concepts mean. So these are the two things that I hope to cover. And in between, I've received a few questions by email, which I've left open on every session, that, any questions that I can answer, any feedback on sessions, things like that can be emailed to me or left on the live chat so that I can address them effectively. So, yeah, I've received a few questions and I thought I'll try to cover it. Yes, I can see a hi on the live chat. Welcome to my live. So, yes, if there is anything that you have anything in particular to ask me, please use the live chat at any point. After I finish a certain topic or a certain concept, I will definitely answer. I'll try to cover the topic. So, okay, the first thing is how and what are the factors that contribute to developing a mental illness? So there are different things that contribute. We cannot say that a particular reason is the why of why someone has developed a mental illness. So it is the first and foremost factor is that a mental illness is not. It's not like you have at one point and then it fades away, and then there's a guarantee that it will never return. So things like these cannot be guaranteed in terms of mental illnesses. That's the first thing. And it is not like if someone has not if someone's functioning healthy from childhood mentally, that I'm talking about. So it's not like they cannot develop in their adolescence. Uh, then it's not like they don't develop in their adolescence, or it's not like they can develop in their adulthood, and things like this. So it can occur at any developmental milestone that you might be growing, or any developmental stage that you might be going through. So the stages of human life generally is from there's childhood, early childhood, adolescence, then there's young adulthood, then there's midlife, then there is old age, and yeah, so there are specific stages, and at each point there are specific mental stress, and there's a mental growth, or there's a mental, like a physical milestone is observed. There are mental milestones that are observed over these life cycles. Now, when talking about specific disorder, I mean, specific sources of mental illnesses, or specific sources to mental illnesses, what happens is generally we can see there are few things. So, one is we see the influence of environmental factors. So what a person grows into, what are the situations that they are being exposed to, what are the levels of stress, or what are the levels of their basic environment, like how are people treating them, what is their social circle, what are the things that they are being exposed to, like media, or what are the language that they're being exposed to, what are the factors, generally what they visualize, hear, things like these. So small, hi Alan, I can see you here. So it's generally small things that, what a child is being exposed to, and as the person grows, what are they being exposed in their adolescence, adulthood. So all these come under the environmental factors that they are being set up in. Then there is a factor of biological makeup. So the biological makeup is when this the person who's growing up. So we have a genetic makeup, like our physical illnesses contribute to our genetic makeup. Our mental illnesses as well contribute. So generally, it's said that if your father or mother has sugar, or they are diagnosed with diabetes, or they are diagnosed with other physical illnesses, the chances that you will develop them are a little more higher than people who do not have these in their genetic makeup. So similarly in mental illnesses as well, it is very often seen that whatever their genetic makeup is, so they have a general rate of vulnerability. They might face these due to their genetic makeup, which cannot be changed, which cannot be avoided. So, in while comparing to the general population who don't have this, their rate of vulnerability, that is, if they are exposed to something in their environment, if they are exposed to a stressor, or if they are exposed to a lifestyle which is not very positive in their environment, the trigger and the genetic makeup that they contain definitely will be of greater influence for them to develop a mental illness, right? So these two factors are unavoidable, the environment and biological makeup. So generally when you walk in and you meet a psychologist or someone in the mental health field, they'll generally ask and inquire about your genetically, if someone's going through something. They'll inquire about your like how have you been growing, and what are the things you are being exposed to. So things like these are questioned generally, and this helps us, to understand and frame better on if the person is going through something. So these give us a little bit information about the causes that might be of help while understanding what they're going through. Then the next thing is past experience. So generally while we have a growth, so our level of influence comes from our past knowledge, our past experiences. So some experiences might not be pleasant. So I can think of very unpleasant moments in our life. Now, how these unpleasant moments resemble in your mind, how you visualize your unpleasant days or memories. Now, some of them can lead to a long term impact. So, it might have happened in a moment, it might have happened in a very short period of time, or it might just have happened, and the intention of that particular event might not be to have a longer influence. And things like these might be there at the back of the event in itself, but the level of influence that short event has caused in the long term, right? So it might be, for example, that I can think of, generally sometimes what teachers say in school, if it is said in front of a class, if you're being punished in front of a class for some behavior, right? So these so you experience a sense of shame, and you experience a sense of guilt, and you get those feelings and what happens if this stays with you for a long time is it contributes your long term effects. Now how this contributes, sometimes it can be a small single event, or it can be a contribution of multiple events that have occurred in your life throughout from all these years of living, that contribute to your trauma. Right. So trauma in itself is a very collection of your negative feelings and negative memories and things that you don't consider very pleasant. Now this stays with you, and you cannot make an acceptance with trauma. So trauma in itself needs to be accepted of. Root causes of trauma need to be checked out, and it has to be sorted. Which Yeah, okay. Will I be able to talk about self healing? Yes, sure. So trauma in itself needs to be addressed, and it needs help, and it needs to be it needs to be taken care of, because the thing about trauma is time does not heal in cases of trauma. So time generally makes it worse. So what happens is, generally when you go untouched with trauma, it generally keeps increasing. The effects of trauma just keeps haunting you, taunting you, and it comes out at different points of your life that you don't even expect. So it might. So sometimes what happens is, people come into counseling, or they fall in their life for some other reason. But when you go into a counseling setup, and you start taking help, what you realize and what the person comes into self realization is about, this is just a event that has happened, that has triggered a trauma in the past. So it is very important that we make acceptance, and we sort our issues that have occurred in our past, sometimes in our childhood. Sometimes these memories or things may not be in our conscious awareness too. So it is very important that we understand these events, we understand these certain characteristics of memories that may be living with us, that we are not even aware of. So, trauma is again a very important source that generally reflects in our as a source of our mental illness. Then, like I said, the environmental factor, the biological genetic makeup. Then the next thing is general lifestyle, how you are carrying out your daily activities, how you are carrying out your how you're carrying out your general day-to-day activities. What are the things you're doing to keep yourself um, in life, and how you're interacting, how your social life is. So things like these, again, as a result of your environmental factor, these things too act as a source. Then there are other sources. Now, like trauma, there are other events that might have happened in life, such as bullying. Okay, bullying is a very great example. Bullying is about, if you have been a bully, or you have been bullied. This again is one factor that constitutes to trauma. This again is an event which is again unpleasant, and its effect stays in a long term run, which again acts as a source to mental illnesses. Then the other factor is substances. So external use of substances, like alcohol, drug, nicotine, cocaine, and all these other substances that we use, or you've started consuming. So you'll see effects of these, that in the long term ruins your physical, mental health, and it starts acting up. So you'll have physical difficulties because of the same, and then you'll also have mental difficulties that arise. There is dependency that you start getting, where you start believing that you cannot generally live without it, or the substance starts controlling your life before you can start controlling the substance use. So substances in general that affects, then the level of relationships you're having. So what is your type of relationship that you've been maintaining around significant people in your life? So this can be your father, mother, siblings, friends, then relatives, any significant relationship that you have in your life. How are their relationships influencing you? How good are these running behind you? Are they treating you well, or are you being treated well? Are you treating them well? So things like these also start contributing over a period of time. Again, small events, small things from their end might influence you, and you might influence their mental health. So things like these are a very significant source of uh, factors that contribute to our mental illnesses. So I'm not saying these are the only factors that might contribute, but these are general factors that I think can be named out. Then another thing that we need to be aware of is how well are we aware of all these factors in our life. So generally, like I said, in my previous lives as well, if we are consciously taking the effort to be aware of the of how are these things progressing in our life, what are we feeling in a day. So general daily progress, if we note, we'll be a lot more conscious about how are these things going on in our life. How are your relationships treating you? What are the kind of conversations you're holding with them? What are the conversations they are holding with you? What are you feeling? What are your emotions? So what are your physical activities? Are you walking? Are you taking up exercises? Are you at least getting out of bed? And how you strive basically in a day will obviously contribute to a better progress and self-awareness that okay, this is what I am doing, this is what is happening around me. So these are the things that I need to take care of. These are the things that I need to be aware of. So recently I'll tell you a small experience that I have been doing. So after watching the Netflix documentary on social dilemma. So I started becoming, and even before that, I was a little aware of what am I following. So in our own gadgets, we know that our mobile phones and the internet cannot be avoided in our times that we have today. So we know that they play an influence in affecting our thoughts, emotions, behavior. So behavior can sometimes even be in our consumer behavior. We are consumers, and our decision making in shopping and things that we start using in our lives. And obviously we know that there are a lot of influencers, and there are role models who are trying to influence every purchase that we are having. So what I did was I started maintaining a awareness. I went and took out the conscious decision, and I spent so much of time to check out what am I following on my social media. What are the pages I'm following? What are the things that following? Who am I following? Are they portraying any negativity that I think I don't need to have? Are they putting out content that I think I don't need to have such kind of content? What are the content these people are posting? So I took out some time in a day, and I went through these, and I made sure that you know what, I will take that conscious decision to unfollow certain pages, to unfollow certain people, to unfriend certain people, because I felt that it was enough of being exposed to so many things that I don't think I need. So this kind of an exercise kind of led me to gain the self-awareness of what were the negative things that I think that I've been going through, or what I've been looking after. And then I realized, you know what, okay, I didn't need these things. And I started following this trend since 2 3 weeks, and that is also when I started watching Social Dilemma. I watched Social Dilemma, and I was like, okay, so the decision that I just took has a background attached to it. So such conscious decisions on basic things like who are we associating ourselves to, what are the conversations that we are holding with them, what are the things that they are telling you, what is the language they're using to address you, what even in media, what are you watching, what is that content that you're watching, what is it leaving on the back of your mind. Such self reflections can act as a very good factor to keep an awareness and to track on how you are progressing. So in a day, if you start and then you carry on it for a little longer, and you see and you try to recollect, okay, so this is what I'm watching and this is what it is saying. Am I Do I really need this? Is a question that you can ask yourself. And you have the choice to not to not engage in it, or to not be exposed to such kind of things. And yeah, generally maintaining a very good self awareness will definitely contribute to the influences that you take from relationships, media, things you're doing in a day, and all these conversations that you hold. So these are the sources that I wanted to talk about. If there's any questions, please use the live chat. I know there are two questions. So will you be able to talk about self healing? Okay, so self healing is a concept that has uh, been going around media, and in the topic of there are so many self healers, and there are so many people who talk about self healing and things like that. Okay, so self healing, I think, like we all have the control in our life. Who takes the control in our life is our own selves. Who decides what we need to think, what emotions we feel. Everything. The first person to know all your best and worst is yourself. So the most controllable figure in your life is yourself. That is generally when you will have when you will start believing that yes, you have the power of your own life. When you start believing that not everything that we think is external, we start internalizing our locus of control, our power. When we start saying that, you know what, it is not my faith, it is of how much hard work I started putting in things. When you start using and reframing the way you portray certain situations. So generally, when marks in an exam go, or if an interview fails, we'll start gently to make ourselves better. We'll say things like, you know what, it was the teacher's fault. You know what, the interview, I did it well, but I know that someone else might have bribed the HR. And we'll usually engage in statements to console our own minds, and to make ourselves feel better. Now, this is not, I'm not saying that this is not good practice, but this is a type of defense mechanism to protect our own ego. We all have a sense of our own ego. So, to protect our own ego, we will say statements like these. We will say things like these to feel better, to make ourselves look good, to be social. As social human beings, we want to be desirable by other people and in the society, and things like these. So, we'll use things like these, but when we start being aware of what we're saying, and when we start believing that our own control is more powerful than anything external to us, we'll start also having the control to heal our own self, right? So when you start believing that you are the problem and you are the one who needs to get fixed, then you can have that power to fix yourself. rather than any external. So even if you go to therapy, you go and do anything in the world, you listen to people, you listen to the most influential people, and anything can happen. But the underlying power to make all those influences that you've been accompanying yourself to, what will bring that change is when you decide that yes, these things matter, these are the things I'm going to take from there, and I need that change, I need to bring about that change. When that conscious decision making is there, that yes, I am the most powerful than any external source around me, I will have the control on my life. I will be able to self heal, if that's a term. But yes, there are a lot of self help books that promote such self healing. And yes, it's not always possible to take therapy, but if and when you're able to do that, if getting exposure to therapy will help, so this can be a very good way to keep a self track of yourself and your self help books, so that you realize your internal power. So that is the answer that I will have to give. How does low self esteem affect our mental health? Okay, so self esteem in a topic in itself, self esteem is about what do you with like if I have to ask you, who do you think you are, you will have a self concept version of yourself. You will have your own image of who you are, rather than, so if I am asking someone else to tell about me, they will have a different perspective. Now if someone else, then there's a third person who's telling me about my me, who am I, so they'll describe it in a different way. So every person has a different concept of who you are. So like every other person who will have, you yourself will also have a concept of your own self. That concept may be negative, may be positive. It will have attributes, attributions. It will have adjectives that describe you. So it can be negative, it can be positive. Generally, if you have a positive self concept, if you view yourself to be a very a positive, in light of positive aspects, and you use positive adjectives, you use positive statements to describe yourself, the general thing is your other aspects of self, that is your self confidence, then your self image, then there is self esteem. All of these things tend to be positive. Now self esteem is how you measure your worth, right? So generally I've heard statements like in media they portray a body image to be thin, and that's a perfect figure, and we are all arguing, is that the perfect figure, is size zero the best, and things like that. So generally what is portrayed, yeah, it might not be about, ideally it might not fit on who you are as a person. So generally when you start that comparison, there's a level of comparison, you compare yourself to others around you. So that is when your self esteem, when you start measuring your worth, you start getting conscious about it, and that is when really when there is a level of low self esteem usually that I'm talking about. So when you start having low self-esteem, what happens is you start associating negative thoughts, negative emotions, and negative feelings, and you start you generally go into a negative mode, right? So obviously yes, that leads to a very drastic effect on your mental health, because in mental health, to generally have a healthy mental health, okay, healthy mental health, yeah, so hey, functioning mental health, what you need is you need to have a balance of your strengths, weakness, and when you are aware, and when there's a constant conscious build on these things, you start generally having a good mental health, like a functioning mental health. Now, when your sense of self and your self concepts, your self esteem, your self confidence, everything is negative and very low, when things are taking control of you rather than you taking control over things, it is for a matter of fact that your mental health gets deteriorated. You will start having negative thoughts, negative feelings. So, negative thoughts, in the same example of body image. So, negative body, your low self esteem with the concept of body image, you will constantly feel like, oh my god, I look so bad, I look so disgusting. So these statements start taking over you, and then this will follow a pattern of ruminative pattern, that is, it will keep coming to you. It's not like a one thought and then it disappears. It keeps happening, it will take different forms. So these thoughts will be there, you will start feeling shame, then in fact, in a matter of fact of behavior, you'll start isolating, you'll not eat well, then you'll not meet anybody. So you'll start seeing that various areas of life, your physical activity, social activity, your then emotions, feelings, things like these get affected as an overall matter of fact. All of this has arisen from this fact of influences that you've been carrying. So again, this is a very strong source. How you view yourself, how you portray yourself, how you believe yourself to be, how you measure yourself, your sense of self. Things like these also act as a source of factor and contribute to mental illnesses. Now, how do we really know if it is a mental illness? How do we differentiate a mental illness from an event or a feeling that is just one time? Is, yes, we all try to, we all have feelings of sadness, we all have feelings of anger, and we all do certain things as part of our life and things like that. But how do we understand that this is not normal, this is not a this is not something that is healthy, is when it starts affecting to a point that we are not able to carry out our daily activities. Now, if I'm feeling low today and I'm feeling better tomorrow, and day after tomorrow I'm again okay. Now, this is just a one time event, and this is not affecting any way, in any way, on my general activity, how I'm carrying out myself, or my lifestyle, or my like my physical, social, emotional, or behavioral aspects. If these are not affecting all these different areas, then it is not a disorder, it is just a matter of fact of life and a life event, that it's my response or reaction, right? Now, it becomes a disorder when it happens over a longer period of time. It happens over various periods of time. It happens and it becomes stable at one point, or there are actually various ways it can come. Like, to differentiate it in simple terms, it will be the duration that it endures for. So, how long are these symptoms, or are these things that you've been witnessing? How long are these happening in your life for? So, this will differentiate whether it's a disorder or whether it is just a response or a reaction to a natural event in life. Okay, so if there are any other questions in the period of things that I've talked about, please feel the liberty to use the live chat. So I have a question: how can we get our working memory to work for us? Okay, so memory in a topic itself, human memory is very It's a very playful tool. So there are times, that exact moment when you'll by heart everything, when you'll know everything in the exam. You'll come in front of the exam paper. You'll come in front of you'll come in the exam hall, you'll get your question paper. That exact moment, all the things that you've learned will just vanish, and you'll become a blank sheet, and you will not know what to write. So memory is a very playful thing. So say, things like these are a very common statement when exam halls and examinations are to be faced. So memory, so there are different types of memory. There are short-term memory, long-term memory. Memory is a very complicated. It may look very simple, but it's a very long, systematic, scientific working function. Okay, so how can we get a memory to work for us is a question. So practicing certain things, many people say, doing the exercise of the rubric's cube, then I don't know, eating certain food, and things like these are what people generally say. But in psychological terms, yeah, so I can see almonds are good for memory. So there are certain food items that people recommend for memory. But other than that, psychologically speaking, making your memory work comes from the conscious effort you put to make your memory work. If you're never using it, obviously the tendency to reflect suddenly out of nowhere, it's going to be low. Generally, exercises, mental exercises that increase mental capabilities can be very helpful. To be specific, I'll need to look on it, and then I can get back. Yeah. So that is one thing. Then, yeah. So we don't have any other questions for now. Okay. Then I can get to the second part of the session. So it was about self. So I've already had a question on low self esteem. Okay. So self concept. So how do you view yourself? So there are, like I said, different people view yourself or different things differently because their perspectives change. And how you view yourself, how you will explain yourself to another person, generally comes from the identity that you associate yourself with. So there's a difference in how we portray ourselves to different people. So based on our relationship with the person, it will differ. So you might be a different person at home, you might be a different person at school, you might be a different person at work, you might be another person in college. Now when these people meet, they're like, you know what, this person does not is not like this. So generally, in school, they'll say, "Oh, you know what, your daughter is such a nice person," or things like that. And then at home, they'll be like, "No, what they're saying is fake. This is not the person that we know." So generally, what happens is, as a matter of fact of social desirability, for us to be accepted in society, for us to be accepted in front of our peers, in front of people, our teachers, our colleagues, our heads, and department departments, and for our own benefits sometimes, to get a promotion and get our own positive reinforcers, or for our personal benefits, we generally portray ourselves differently. But at the end of the day, what you think of yourself, I think that really matters. Because whatever you show, whatever you believe, you want to make the other person believe. Now, this is not fake, okay? Many people have the ideology that this is fake. This is not the person. He or she is just behaving fake or differently. So this is not a fake image or something, but it's just that, as a matter of fact, as human beings, and as beings that we want ourselves to be portrayed well. We want ourselves to have that positive image in front of people. So in a way, it is a type of adaptation that we make in our life to certain circumstances. So, based on circumstances, people change, right? You might not you might do certain things just to fit in, and just to be okay in that certain circumstance, but that might not be your exact behavior in certain other situations. Now, that does not make you a fake person. That is general way of adapting, adjusting to life demands, right? Now, yeah, so basically, at the end of the day, irrespective of the fact that you hold a social self and your social surroundings, you portray things differently. What you mean to yourself, how you view your personal sense of self. I believe that we know ourselves better than anyone else. So, we know ourselves on our days that were bad, that were good, what we've experienced, our experiences. Then we get to know about who were our significant people, what did they, leave with us, even if they are not there anymore in our lives. So all these matter of facts that you generally build over your span of living, these things contribute to the ideal way, or the way that you start believing yourself to be. Now that is very important, because how you stay okay, or how you generally will react, respond, behave, how your personality is, all these things that you start displaying, all these things will come from the sense of self that you carry, right? So this becomes the basis for most of the things in our lives that are internal to us. So, like how our external factors influence our ways of life, our internal factors equally stands important to influence our lives. Now, if there's a negative sense of self that is being built, then, like I've already answered, there's obviously going to be a negative sense of mental health. Your mental health is going to be equally in in a state that might not look very appealing. So when there's a positive sense, obviously there's a functioning mental health, and you can do and carry out your mental activities, and your life generally looks good. Now, the matter of fact is, even if your external factors are not treating you well, if your internal sense of self is really great, if you have built a sense that is so strong and positive, you can generally accommodate well, you can generally adjust to external circumstances that may look like a fallback, right? So these things are very important, that we generally don't give a lot of importance on. How do I believe myself to be, or how whether I'm having a low self-esteem, what is my self-esteem like, how do I measure my worth in comparison to people, what do I think of myself great, and what is my view on my own self. Generally such things are not given a lot of importance. We generally tend to value how other people are behaving, what are they doing, and things like these, because we've given a lot of importance on what other people are doing, what are other people portraying themselves to be. If we've given the same importance to our own selves, we'll gain a lot of self awareness, that things that we consciously don't generally look for, or we consciously don't believe ourselves. You know, so generally maintaining a self concept and aspects of various aspects of life. I mean, various aspects of self, like self esteem, self confidence, self image. All these things come from the worth that the person tends to build from their perception of their own self. Yep. And so many at times, then now recently I've seen the trend of how self care is suddenly given a lot of hype, and importance. I'm not saying that it does not require importance. Definitely it does, like every other concept. But the ways that self-care are portrayed in media and by certain influentials, I think that is not the way self-care should be. Self-care is basically of how well you want to treat yourself, how well is your me time going, how well are you taking care of yourself. That can be in any ways. In your, are you doing things that you like, are you doing things that you love, how well are you keeping with your ambitions, your passion, how well are you keeping with your internal sense of requirements. Like you have an ambition, how well, what are you doing in efforts to achieve that sense, or that success, in that in pursuing that ambition. So things like these, how much you care for yourself is reflected in how much you're doing for yourself, your dreams, your ambitions, your hopes in life, your relationships, how much time you invest, what are your efforts in your relationships. So things like these. So it's basically everything that you want to do. It is not generally about going to a parlor, or just having a good bath. It's not just that. It's more than that. It's more about the mental processes that you do while you do these activities. It is that sense of satisfaction that you gain from taking activities of self-care. It might be simple as reading a book or watching a movie, but if you're doing that for yourself, for to take that extra effort in achieving that care that you think you need, that is what self care is. So, this is just my personal opinion on how self care is portrayed in these current times. So, yeah, so these were the topics that I wanted to cover. If there are any questions, please use the live chat so I can answer you on spot. And yeah, I also had a few questions to answer. And I had received an email which said, "Does a perfect state of mind exist?" Right. So I think that was a question. Yes. So does a perfect state of mind exist? I think it's a topic of debate. Having a mind of perfect state, but what then it again goes to the question of what is defined as a perfect state of mind. Do we really have a definition for perfect state of mind? I don't really think so. So in my perspective, I don't think there's a perfect state of mind, because we all don't go through the same experiences in our life, right? So, to make a very defined statement that this is the perfect statement of mind, it might not apply to everybody. People grow up in different backgrounds, they go through different instances of life. Their relationships are different with different people, their experiences are different. So to make a perfect state of mind is a very difficult thing, because again it cannot be generalized across a population or across certain demographics, and things like that also come into play. So a perfect state of mind is like I think it depends on the person. How I think it varies according across people. It varies according to how they perceive themselves in certain things, in certain areas. That's why in psychology, even if a client comes, it is very important to check out their background, because it is not general that this is right, this is wrong. So the whole field of mental health does not come with a it does not come like a mathematics equation which has a perfect answer. So there is no perfect state of mind. It is basically on how you're thriving and how you're surviving, and what are your experiences. So it's basically very personal, and it cannot come as a very certain answer. So this is what my opinion would be on that question. If there are any other questions, please use the live chat. Yeah, so in the meanwhile, if you are new here and you haven't checked out my previous lives, so I have done three lives before. The main objective is to cover maximum awareness on mental illnesses, because this week is celebrated for spreading out maximum awareness. So I have a question: how can I surround myself with people who encourage me? So again, it's basically on how you keep a track of yourself. What are you talking to them? What are they talking to you? How are they addressing you? Are they using abusive language, or are they respecting you in the relationship that you have? What are the things that they're telling you? How are they just, making a conversation that is not so genuine? Are they holding that conversations for genuine reasons? What is the content you share with that person? So things like these will help you identify if that is a toxic relationship, or that is a relationship that you think will help you in life to sustain. And it's a relationship of social support. If you are able to gain that clear distinction in life, that is what is the toxicity and what is social support, or if they're of people who you think are very significant. So this distinction needs to be there, this awareness of what is someone else telling me, if they are right, or what am I taking away in conversations. That will help me realize that yes, I am in a very good social support. I'm in a very good social system. So things like these will help me to understand that. When I have a very good understanding of such things, of toxicity and social support, I will realize that yes, ending my toxicity will give me a better space, a better safe space. And my people of social support who I'm associating with, if they're talking things positive. Now it's not that you will agree with everyone and everyone will agree with you. It's not like that. It's like how you communicate with the person. Even when there are disagreements, there's a sense of respect that needs to happen, to see that this respect is taking place in your relationship, whether how significant that person is to you in your life. It is very necessary to draw that conclusion of people that will help you gain a very good understanding of what is your social life. Who are the people who you are communicating with, who are you surrounding with. So these things will definitely contribute to your social support. Now these, if these are very positive, if these are continued around in a and these things positively influence you, you will have a lot of encouragement in life. They'll push you to do things, they'll motivate you, they'll stand as your role models, and they'll take up inspirations, they'll do that extra effort. And you will realize that yes, these are the kind of people that I need to keep for my life, or these are the people who I can run into when I need some kind of a help. So these things are to be taken care of, but we generally don't just start analyzing our relationship. So these things are very important, and they'll definitely start influencing of how you behave, how you think, how it influences you. Generally plays a very important role. So I think, and I hope this answers your question, in my opinion. Yeah, so these were the things that I had for the day. If there are any other questions, to post it in. So tomorrow, I'm thinking of doing the session on specific mental illnesses. So I've till yesterday I've received about interest in four specific illnesses. So that was depression, general anxiety, and there was also on dual personality, and yeah, so that OCD. Yeah, so these were the four things that I've received so far. Is there, if there's any other certain specific disorder that you would like me to attend or to talk about, do let me know in the comments or in my email ID. It's already there on the community tab if you're not aware of my email address. So you can send me an email and I will definitely try to include it in my sessions. So if there's anything else, do let me know in the live chat. And yeah, so I've covered the things that I wanted to convey today. Let me know if there's anything you all need to tell me. Whoever is watching, a little bit introduction about yourself or what you felt after listening or things like these. If you'd like to communicate, please use the live chat. If there's any other topic that you would like to want me to talk in the aspect of mental illnesses and mental health, do let me know. I'll give it a minute or so and then we can end the session and you all can have and carry on with the rest of your day. Is there anything else? So it does not look like I have something else to talk about today. So yeah, that's it. I hope you all start taking care of your mental health very well, and start maintaining that level of awareness that we all need a little bit here and there, and start being aware of our social surroundings. What are the conversations we are making? What are we listening to? What are we watching to? What are we reading? So things like these and small efforts count. So I hope you all are able and have the capacity to make such small choices. So until we meet again tomorrow, I hope you all keep safe wherever you are. And yeah, so I'll meet you all tomorrow. So thank you so much for taking the time and effort to listen to me and post in certain questions and have a clear, good conversation. Yeah, that's all. So we'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.